But the grandest monument of them all is Buckland Abbey, the sprawling estate where Drake lived at the peak of his power and prestige.
Nice digs.
And the inside is no less impressive. Faithfully preserved furnishings transport visitors back to Drake's era, and much of the building is now a museum dedicated to the legacy of his astounding travels to every corner of the globe. I'm here to meet Michael Turner.
Michael.
The world's foremost expert on Drake, who spent the last 35 years retracing his every move.
And so have you been everywhere that Drake has been?
I've been to about 260 places all over the world in 44 countries.
Wow. So let's talk about the man who lived here. What do we know about the early part of his life?
His father apprenticed him to a owner of a small sailing vessel, and Drake was a natural. He became one of the greatest sailors in the history of this world.
But before captaining his own ship, Drake had to climb the rope ladder of success by working on other crews. It was on one such voyage, a trip to trade slaves in the Spanish colony that's now Mexico, that inspired a bitter vendetta that would define the rest of Drake's career.
The slave trading voyage that he was on came to disaster in 1568 in San Juan de Lua, Mexico, when the Spanish turned upon Drake and massacred scores of Englishmen. And Drake knew that slave trading was not the way forward, so he turned his hand to becoming the first English privateer to enter the West Indies.
Now this is an important distinction, pirate and privateer.
A pirate would attack anybody and would be out of sight of the law, but Drake was licensed by the Queen to take reprisals against the Spanish for losses in previous voyages.
The license allowed ship owners like Drake to become a kind of mercenary navy, attacking the vessels of enemy nations and profit-sharing with the crown on the sale of their cargo. For Drake and for England, there was no greater foe than Spain. Now armed with his own ships, Drake nursed his grudge by wreaking havoc on Spanish ships bearing treasures from the New World. In the process, he earned fame, fortune, and a really badass nickname, taken from his family crest, El Drake, or the Dragon.
He was so driven, being one of the greatest sailors in the world, and he had a thirst for fame.
In 1580, he becomes the first sea captain to circumnavigate the globe without an asterisk. Magellan, you see, didn't actually survive his voyage. Drake did.
This is the thing about Drake that's so crazy, is that he has this career that seems impossible.
Drake was larger than life. He was driven. He loved success.
The newly dubbed Sir Francis Drake eventually becomes Vice Admiral of the British fleet, and at the height of his career defeats the Spanish Armada in their attempted invasion of England in 1588. Through his exploits, Drake became one of the wealthiest men in the world. But as they say, behind each great fortune is a crime. Back in 1573, it was Drake's robbery of the Spanish mule train in Panama that made the rest of his remarkable career possible. And now, I'm off to look for the loot.
So if I'm a first-time Drake treasure seeker, what's your advice?
Tenacity with the best metal detector you can buy.
It's as simple as that. It's good advice. Okay, I got it.
Michael is working hand in hand with another researcher who may be closing in on the location of the treasure right now. To find out where, I catch a flight across the Atlantic to the famed crossroads of the Americas.